Hello and welcome to Falcon Blues TV. I'm Callum Davis and I'm back with another match preview for this weekend's game where Everton are going to be hosting Leeds United. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff on Saturday the 12th of February, so we won't be shown on any Sky Sports, BT Sports, any of them. Before we get into the video, if you wouldn't mind go down, liking and subscribing, we'd really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So obviously last time out, we played Newcastle in midweek, which was a huge game, and the players just didn't really rise to the challenge. I thought we were pretty comfortable for about half an hour of the game. We dominated the ball, flattered to deceive, didn't really create a great deal, but limited Newcastle to long balls. And then when we scored our goal, which albeit was a terrible, really lucky goal, I thought, well, we're comfortable now, because as I said, we'd limited their chances. To concede straight after is absolutely criminal. It's completely typical Everton, and then after that we didn't even look like a team at all. I think the crowd really got up for them, and our players just didn't rise to the challenge. They were completely rattled. Managed to get in at half time 1-1, and then they came out and they were just the better side in the whole of the second half. And they were good value for their win, and it drags them right out the relegation zone and puts them just a point behind us. Granted, we do have a game in hand, but it means nothing when we just can't seem to win a game. This game against Leeds is absolutely huge. They obviously got a pretty decent result midweek against Villa, 3-1 down, and managed to come back. And it just shows that they actually have a bit of fight in their team. They obviously are another side who's been really, really badly struck by injuries, as have we. But they seem to be rising to the challenge with performances like that. And I just don't see an Everton performance like that coming around anytime soon. I just think in this particular game, Leeds-Everton, that we probably will end up getting outworked. And the same way that we got outfought against Norwich or Watford, you know, the teams that are around us who we're supposed to be competing with for this season, they're the ones that are picking up points, you know, scrapping for those points, and we don't look like it at all. Now, obviously, last time we played them at Goodison last year, they did beat us 1-0. We did beat them at their place last year as well. So, obviously, they've got that over us. They've not won back-to-back at Goodison since 1976, I suppose, is one thing that you could look at as being a slight positive. But since the start of 2021, no other team in the Premier League has lost more home games than Everton, which was 12, I think. Obviously, we had a real struggle at home under Ancelotti. You know, no fans. We went through a big period, and I think that did obviously contribute. That does contribute to this statistic, but it's just unforgivable that, and it completely shows why we are in the position that we're in at this moment in time. And I think it shows that Goodison needs to not up its game, but like not get on the players back as much. I was watching a video of Ben Foster on his podcast, and he was talking about how the Watford players, they know that if you get on top of Everton, the fans turn on the Everton players, and they use that as a tactic. They said, we'll come out flying, get the fans on the backs of the players, and then we'll play from there. Now, if professional football is using that as a tactic against us, that's absolutely criminal, and something does need to change. But I'm not the person to suggest it, but I'll just keep going the game and trying to sing and make a difference. But something does have to give, because this is where they need us, absolutely need us most. So we have obviously lost our last 4 just Premier League games on the spin. The last time we lost as many as was when we lost 6 on the spin back in 2005. But for a little bit of positive news, we've lost just 1 of the last 8 that we've played against Leeds. Obviously, the one that we did lose was last year at home. And since they've returned to the Prem, I think it was last season, Leeds have lost all 4 of their away 3 p.m. kickoffs. So clutching at straws a little bit, but you've got to find some statistics from somewhere to make it even the slightest bit positive for Evertonians at the moment, because there's really nothing to look forward to, especially when it comes to injury news as well, because we had another 2 go off against Newcastle, Gray and Mina, who's made out of absolute paper. So obviously you imagine Mina definitely won't play I think Lampard said that Gray's wasn't as bad as was once thought, but whether he'll get risked is another story. I think we'll probably see Calvert-Lewin introduced. He obviously wasn't fit against Newcastle, so that's why he wasn't brought on at any of the opportunities with the injuries or half-time. But he'll have had a full week of full training by the time this game comes round, so you probably think he'll start and should be fit. Obviously, Decore is still out, Tom Davis, Delph still out, and Michaelenko, who I think he had an inconclusive COVID test or a positive COVID test, so it remains to be seen with Michaelenko whether he'll play or not. I think it all depends on circumstance, that one. Leeds have also, as I said, been a team ravaged with injuries. Their main striker Bamford's been out for a long time now. I think it was like 15 matches I read somewhere. So it's lucky that we don't have him to contend with, as well as they've lost a few players in midfield. Calvin Phillips, another one who's been out for a while. And I think it was Click who went off injured against Villa. He hobbled off, so that is another player who most likely won't start against us. Cooper, again, been out for a while, but a slight positive for Leeds fans is that Junior Firpo is meant to be back in contention to play, but whether he will is another thing, obviously back from an injury. In terms of the teams, I don't think Lampard can stick with a five at the back because of the injuries we've got at centre-back. I think Pickford will start in goal and he'll have to start Keane and Holgate, which is the most terrifying centre-back partnership of all time. I have no faith in either of them. I think Coleman will probably play right back, even though I think we do need to see Patterson sooner rather than later. We've not spent 12 mil for an under-23s player, and I don't think he can be that much worse than Coleman. Not that Coleman's been particularly awful, I just think he struggles a lot with the pace of the game nowadays. He's obviously not a player like he once was, and I think an injection of pace on the right-hand side alongside whoever it may be, Gordon, Richarlison, even Gray, will help us out with the way that we attack and press, more intense. Left back, again, it depends on Michaelenko. He will play if he's allowed to, but you probably think that Kenny will have to fill in there. I don't think he'll play Townsend there in a back four. I thought Townsend was poor in the back five as a wing back, so he won't risk him as a back four. The midfield three is a tough one because obviously Alan and Gomez, they played really well against Brentford, but I thought Gomez wasn't great against Newcastle. I think we will see one of the new boys starting, probably Van der Beek, or we could see both of them. I think if Gomez was to be dropped, we couldn't really complain, so you'd think it would most likely be Alan, Van der Beek, and then Ali a little bit further forward, which leaves the front three as probably Calvert-Lewin, Gordon and Richarlison if Gray is not to be risked. I think that team should be enough, but it's whether circumstances are on our side, whether we play well and if the crowd gets behind the players. Now Leeds' team is a little bit more awkward to predict because of the injuries and who will fill in. Meslier probably in goal, and then centre-backs Llorente and Streak. Dallas will play left back if Firpo isn't fit, and then you imagine Ayling will be there at right back. The centre mids is an awkward one because, as I said, they had a player hobble off against Villa. Phillips has been out for a while. You imagine it'll probably be something like Koch, Forshaw, and Rodrigo. I can't imagine there'd be many other options other than them three, and then the front three probably be Jack Harrison, Dan James, who was a makeshift striker against Villa and will probably continue to play there because he did quite well, and Rafinha, who is their danger man. That front three is similar to ours, pretty strong, and I think they're going to cause us a lot of problems. I don't look forward to Rafinha going up against Coleman, and I don't look forward to Harrison going up against whoever we've got playing left back. I think it's going to be a really, really difficult game, and I couldn't predict. It'd be a really tough one to predict. It is 15th versus 16th. There's only 4 points that separate the two teams. Obviously, we're below them, but we do have a game in hand, which means relatively little when you don't win any games. But still, it's something that we can cling on to. I really think it's a difficult one to predict. It's absolutely massive game because if we win, we drag them right back down into it with us, and we get a lift up, and then we can look towards Southampton to pick up points. before we have that horrid last eight games, I think, in the run-in. In terms of a prediction, I don't think I can really keep going with Everton wins because it just isn't happening, is it? I'd say the best we can hope for is a draw, and I don't think it'll be a low-scoring 1-2 maybe. And I think if I had to like pick a side, it probably would be leaning towards Leeds winning 2-1, 3-1 maybe. It remains to be seen, but based on the last two performances of each team, you have to lean towards them because they showed a little bit of fight and a little bit of spirit, and that's something which we've been lacking for all season, months and months now. So I hope they prove me wrong, and you can let us know in the comments down below how you think the game's going to go, what your predictions are, and thank you very much for watching. Up the Toffees.